Yes, sir, sheep.
Sheep? My sheep?
Well, who the devil else has got sheep around here, sir?
There's only one thing you need to know about mutton busting, and that's for you to find out.
Hazel. And how old are you, Hazel?
5.
Have you ever mutton busted before?
No.
No. Are you excited?
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to do? You're going to hold onto the ears?
Yeah. There.
The fur. Okay.
Now you squeeze it.
And squeeze. What is your name?
My name is Gideon.
Now, have you mutton busted before?
No.
No. What is your technique going to be?
I'm going to hold on the seat really tight.
Can you tell me your name and how old you are?
I am Ezekiel and I'm 5.
You're 5 years old. Have you ever mutton busted before?
No.
Are you excited? What's your technique going to be? How are you going to hold on? Hold on tight.
Wait, go on the chat and hold.
Hold on. Are you going to hold on to their ears?
No.
Is that a bad idea? Okay. He was thinking he was going to slap his bottom. Is that a good idea?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Can I get your best yeehaw?
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2025 Chisholm Trail Roundup Point.
In the sport of mutton busting, kids climb on a sheep twice their size and hold on for dear life. No reins, no guarantees. Just grit, instinct, and heart. It's over in seconds, but the lesson lasts. Life's wild and unpredictable, and sometimes the best you can do is hang on tight and ride it out.
If you please don't back up the track, this train has got to run today.
Okay, well, my name is Kelly Dugan. I'm a creative producer of sorts. And this would be the 5th year that I'm throwing a festival called the River Sing Sweet Songs, which is a mini festival or a mini day of music for the Grateful Dead. It's presented by the Martindale River Cafe with me, like we've been doing. So the first 2 years, it was when Katie and Ryan were at the cafe. And then now these past 3 years have been Zach and Emily, the new owners. But what it is it's that field in between Duets and Martindale River Cafe on Main Street in Martindale. And there's like that big open field where they'll do live outdoor music and there's picnic tables and a big tree. There's a stage there. And usually it's from around 2 or 3 p.m. till like 8 p.m. I just get people to request songs that they want to play, and then we just play music all day. The River Sing Sweet Songs it's a Grateful Dead lyric. It's from Broke Down Palace. But yeah, it's all covers of Grateful Dead songs. And then I guess also songs that the Grateful Dead covered that aren't by them originally, but are, done by them. So I've done it for the past 5 years. The first year I played with Shane Renfro and Naomi in town in Lockhart. The second year, I think I played with my friend Lucas and my friend Taz. Every year, I just kind of join another group. And then this year, I'm going to do with my friend Pearson and then his band called Old Friends. And they play every year. They're kind of like the house band. They always play last. It's like a big roaring set. So I'm singing with them on a couple songs. That's the ideas I wanted, just to have. I just wanted like this like quintessential like summer day, especially in Texas. I know a lot of people are scared to throw events in the summer because it is so hot. But I'm like, we just lean into it. It's on the river, so you can like jump in the river all day long. And right now I've got a couple vendors. My friend Caleb Morford, he always tattoos, which is really fun. I got this one from another tattoo artist that we had the first year, not Caleb. Just like there's like bubble machines, you know, people bring coolers and blankets, and the River Cafe sells really good food and they sell drinks. And yeah, it's just a real like community party. I was definitely quite the festy kid for a long time. And so this was me wanting to create something like that, but also like one thing it is like very like family community based, not quite as much. Like I just kind of like publish it on my own. So it's like on my Instagram. My husband is actually doing the poster this year, which I'm excited about. So I'm going to get those posters up this week. And then it's free. I always want to keep it free. That's like a goal of mine. We've done a couple years. We've done like a benefit we did TOOF, which is the other one's foundation out of Austin. They help like houseless people. And then I've worked with just like trying to like raising, but it's not, because it's a free event, it's not like we're making a lot of money, but I'll like sell posters and the proceeds will go to like a group I like. But I don't know. It's great. You bring your swimsuit, bring your dog, you know, bring your koozie. People just jump in the water all day, but it's awesome. I mean, I jump in the water all day long. And I think Maddie from Martindale Yoga Wellness, I think she's going to do a free yoga sesh sometime in the middle of the day too. Right now we've got, I think like 41 songs covered, you know, which is great. That's why it's when people ask me like what time it starts and ends, it's always like a crapshoot, because I'm like, you know, no one's timing their sets, and I want people to noodle, I want people to like jam and have fun, and like, so yeah, I mean it's kind of from 3 to 8. It's loose. I don't even said that. It's July 5th. I know. That's why I was like, I got to get this poster out. But yeah, and then Radio Lockhart is also helping sponsor it this year, just through promo and being friends. My dream, I've been talking to Max about this for a while, is to get them to like stream the event. I just think that would be so fun. Maybe next year. They don't have the technical capabilities quite yet. It's fun. It's a good time. It's a hot time, but it's good. Yeah, I also I always tell people bring pop-up tents. I mean, last year was so great. There was like a sea of pop-up tents. So like, you know, you could really get a lot of coverage. And then my husband, he always sets up a really big pop-up tent and we do misters. And so it's like he calls it the Salamander Lounge. It's really helpful, especially for the youngins. I'm excited for it. I hope y'all come.
In the timbers of an area was running round. Winter was so hard and cold, froze 10 feet beneath the ground. Don't murder me, I beg of you, don't murder me. Please don't murder me. Sat down to my supper, 'twas a bottle of red whiskey. Said my prayers and I went to bed, and that's the last they saw of me. Don't murder me, I beg of you, don't murder me. Please don't murder me. I was liable, 600 pounds of sin grinning at my window. All I said was come on in, don't murder me. I beg of you, don't murder me. Please don't murder me. Wolf came in, got my cards. We sat down for a game. Cut my deck to queen of spades. The cards are all
You can't picture, Leonard Skinner without Ronnie Van Zant, and Ronnie Van Zant without the high roller hat with the rattlesnake band on it. The high roller actually was created by my grandfather for my dad, who at the time was selling insurance in Waco. When he sent it to him, he put a note with it that, he wasn't anything but a high roller, wanted to go have coffee with the ladies selling insurance instead of coming back to work for him. Of course, that triggered it because he started selling more hats than he was insurance.
Come on down to Texas Hatters, where we top the best.
Looking for a getaway with a little extra charm? Welcome to Birdie House, a stunning neoclassical Victorian mansion right in the heart of historic Lockhart, Texas, where small-town charm meets big-time memories. Whether you're booking a weekend retreat, weddings, or a photo shoot, Birdie House blends antique elegance with modern comfort for an unforgettable stay. And here's a little insider tip. When you book through Airbnb, tell the host to, quote, tip the band, and you'll get a discount. Ready to experience Texas hospitality at its finest? Visit birdiehouse.com to learn more. Birdie House. Stay a while. Make some memories.
When I take my sugar to tea, all the boys are jealous of me.
Thanks for tipping the band.
Join 78644 Friends, a community making sure musicians can thrive. For $5 a month, 100% of your donation goes straight to the artist. Thanks to our subscribers, we've raised over $8,000 and counting. Just recently, we tipped musician Dustin Welsh $474. By subscribing, you're truly helping. Sign up today at 78644podcast.com.
78644, tastiness is mine.
Of course, remember, there's an inherent beauty in soup cans that Michelangelo could not have imagined existed.
Talkative Andy Warhol and Gabby Sonny Liston always fly Braniff. They like our girls, they like our food, they like our style, and they like to be on time. Thanks for flying Braniff, fellows.
When you got it, flaunt it.
Braniff International. When you got it, flaunt it.
Hi, I'm Chad Rea. Welcome to Cult of Happy. I am a Lockhartian. I have been for the last 4 years. And I guess I'm a recovering advertising creative director. I've worn a lot of different hats: entrepreneur, creative coach. I have an advanced certificate in spiritual psychology. And in 2014, I claimed the title of an artist and have been making art ever since. One thing that's interesting, I would say, about my background, and some people might see it in my work, is directly related to my 30 years in advertising. I was a copywriter. And so, I'd be writing for 16 hours a day. I wasn't really pushing paint. I wasn't doing visual work. And so when I started exiting out of that career, I just wanted to do visual stuff, and I was pushing paint around. And for a long time, I wasn't making art with words in it. But then they slowly started creeping in, and I realized that's like my jam, and that's my thing. And so now everything is basically text-based art for the most part. Yeah, as far as inspiration goes, like the advertising agencies that I worked for were all independently owned. They were very progressive. In many ways, they were more like art than they were advertising. And so I wasn't really looking to advertising for inspiration. I was looking to art. So people like Barbara Kruger, Jenny Holzer, Warhol, and then later like Banksy, even like Ed Roche. But yeah, there's a lot of similarities, I would say, to those artists. And even when I started making art, I was an activist artist, and a lot of Barbara Kruger and Jenny Holzer are very much rooted in that. And so yeah, big inspirations. I came to Lockhart, I used to have a motorcycle, and I would ride up here, and we would hit up the galleries here, and I was just inspired by the potential. I'm the kind of person that will see an empty retail space or a for lease sign or something, and imagine like, oh, what could that be? And Lockhart was that for me. And so I had a show in San Antonio and was driving back to Austin where I was living at the time, and opened up the Zillow app, and this house popped up. You know, this was during like the peak of the housing boom or whatever. And this one house popped up, and I looked in the window, and it looked like an art gallery to me. And I called my realtor, and he said, or I said, how fast can you get here? And he said 45 minutes. And so anyway, when I saw the house, like I said, I was like, this is an art gallery. I got out a sketch and I started sketching like how it might look, and thought I would do a house gallery and, you know, create kind of a community space for people to come and, you know, show their art. And yeah, I did that for about 4.5 years, I guess, and was showing artists from all over Texas. And, you know, just, yeah, really enjoyed that. I don't know. Cult of Happy as a retail concept came to be kind of by accident in a way. I used to wear a hand-painted hat that said Cult of Happy, and I would always get comments saying, hey, where can I get one of those hats? And so in the back of my mind, I always thought like that would be a cool brand to have. And, you know, I spent a lot of time going between this idea of like Chad Rea as a brand or, you know, something else. And I was looking at other artists like Shepard Fairey. He's got the Obey clothing line. Keith Haring had Pop Shop. There's a couple of other artists who've gotten into sort of the retail experience. And so I went with Cult of Happy. So Cult of Happy isn't just a art gallery, you know, it's part functional and decorative art gallery. It's part gift shop or, you know, retail therapy in like the most literal sense. But then there's also this kind of membership component to it. But yeah, you can come in here and you can buy an original painting or sculpture, for example, or if you want it as a print, a limited edition print, say, you know, a lot of these prints that are on the wall are only like 50 to 100 that will ever be printed. I do a lot of hand painted apparel and hats. So those are, you know, art that you can wear. But yeah, the idea is like, if you're not ready to buy an original, you know, you can get it as a shirt, you can get it as a coffee mug, you can get it as a sticker, you can get it, you know, pretty much in every price point, you know, that you're willing to do. But everything is, I would say, is a collectible, you know, it's just different forms. A number of reasons. One, I love just cults and documentaries, but also I used to be about a shared upset. Now it's about a shared joy. And in this sort of, I don't know, it just feels like we're in this very negative time, you know, a lot of negativity on social media and stuff. And so I feel a bit like an outlier because a lot of artists make art based on their trauma. And, you know, when I was an activist artist, I was making things that were about a shared upset. And yeah, so when I started making art in 2014, I was making art that was based on themes like American gun culture, mental health, toxic masculinity. And I had this one show that was called The Gun Show. And, you know, people would come in and experience the art and get back to me like, oh my gosh, I just feel awful. Like you've made me feel, you know, like how you feel. And, you know, I felt like I was creating or adding to this negativity or angst that we all might be feeling about the world. And then COVID happened. I went inwards. That's when I enrolled in the University of Santa Monica's advanced spiritual psychology program. And that completely changed my outlook on life. And I was no longer upset. And if I wasn't upset, and that was my whole identity as an artist, you know, who was I? So I wasn't making art for about a year. And I was trying to figure it out. And I decided, it just sort of clicked to me that there's a different kind of activism, and it's called heartivism. And it's leading with this sense of joy and hope and creating a world that I want to see, as opposed to being a mirror to the world, you know, as it is. And seeing people's reactions, you know, after they go through the store or go through a show is so much more rewarding when people leave happier and more hopeful. And so I just leaned into that. And, you know, that is sort of this idea of the cult of happy and being sort of a love letter to the human spirit and a joyful rebellion against negativity. I had a space in Austin and I was doing a retail showroom there and sort of testing out the concept. And then I was literally walking down the street and saw that there was a space available, and the realtor was walking out and said, "Do you want to look at the space?" And I said, "Yes." And yeah, this was also around the time when I was sort of creating this membership concept where you could, people could pay like $111 and maybe get a hat or a print and then like 30% off original pieces. And I was going to do that for $111. And I noticed that the address here was also 111, and did some research and saw that it meant, with numerology, that it was about good fortune and new beginnings. And so I just thought like it was serendipitous and I had to do it. One project that I'm really excited about, I was talking about found art, and looking at like even stuff in my house. I'm like, I have no use for this. I'm going to, put it in a garage sale or throw it away. But then before I do that, I'm like, okay, what can I do with this? And I found this old iPad, and I'm like, what can I do with this iPad? And I ended up stripping it of all the apps except for the camera. And I looked at the hard drive and used Chat GPT to kind of like do some math, and found out that I could have 20,000 selfies stored on the hard drive. And so I've set up in the gallery with a little ring light in the iPad an opportunity for people to come and take a selfie. And it's called Was Here, a selfie time capsule. And the idea is that I'm going to amass 20,000 photos, and then the iPad is sealed for, another 10, 20, 50 years from now. And I've been considering like maybe gifting it to the city of Lockhart to open at a future date and just kind of commemorate this time and in place in Lockhart. So if that sounds of interest to any of you out there, come on by and take a selfie. I think there's a lot of correlations between advertising and art. I mean, the creative process to me is the same. You start with an intention, in advertising, you're starting with a creative brief, and it's very clear what your objective is, what your message is, who you're trying to reach. In some ways, art is no different. Some people will only make things for themselves. And I certainly do that, but I'm also creating with an intention. I want people to feel something in the same way. If I create an ad, I want you to feel a certain way. And it wasn't really hard, making the transition, because as I was saying earlier, my style of advertising was more akin to the art world, like I was doing exhibitions, like, for example, to advertise a hotel, we would put a photographer in the only room with a bathtub, and he would take photos of hotel staff, hotel guests, in this one bathtub. And then we would do an exhibition based on that. And it wasn't like, let's make a social media campaign or whatever. It was, very much rooted in the ad world. And so as far as like success goes, for me as a creator, the success is just knowing that I answered the brief, like if it's successful, if I sold a lot of product, if I won an award, maybe that could be success. But for me, it's just like I completed this thing and it's true to the vision that I had, and so I'm now creating these sort of campaigns for humanity. Some are for myself. A lot of these are just reminders for myself and my own mental health, and if other people like it, fantastic, and people do tend to like it. And so success for me is just being true to myself and expressing myself. Advertising was a great training ground for, being creative on demand. And, if you are a fan of Rick Rubin and his book, The Creative Act, he talks a lot about, like, we all just have these antennas, and I think a lot of creativity is just learning how to fine tune that antenna. But working in advertising for so long, where I would work 16 hours a day, I would create literally hundreds of ideas a day. I would see other people present hundreds of ideas a day. And so I have no trouble receiving ideas, and I'm constantly writing them down in my phone in the notes section. And occasionally I can see patterns or threads. And then I'll create, just like in advertising does a campaign, I create in terms of collections. And so like I'll go down one path and maybe it'll be about a certain theme, or I'll use a certain technique. And then I'll do like 10 to 30 pieces, and then I'll move on to something else and try something else. But the process for me is really, you know, the same. I think what's different is in advertising, I might have the idea for something, I might write something, but then I'm hiring a director, I'm hiring a designer, I'm hiring a producer. There's all these people that affect the outcome. And now I'm relying more on myself to, you know, do fabrication and do the visuals and do things more, you know, on my own. And, you know, I think you could look at some sculptures that I've done, like, for example, for the gun show, I had a clear backpack full of like 400 AR-15 shells, and it was a response to the Parkland shootings and requiring kids to carry these clear backpacks, and it's called The Weight of the World. And you know, if I was in advertising, I would still have an idea, but then, you know, there would be an art director, there'd be a photographer, there'd be a set builder, and they would shoot a photo of it, and it would be a poster, you know, or it would be a PSA for, you know, gun control or something like that. But now I get to make it as a sculpture, you know, so it's very similar, I think, the two. So there's a lot of work that I'm leaning towards these days, and I would consider it more sort of like an elevated interior design type of thing, which is functional art, you know, it's not just decorative. So like when I remodeled my house here in Lockhart, or I mean the art house, I pulled out all of the mirrors and I started painting on mirrors because I really like the idea of people looking at themselves and questioning their own self-worth, and at that time being able to get a positive message. And so things like that, these painted chairs were also just like some boring chairs that I had in my house. You know, there's a sticker piece, it's like a big sticker skull that I made with over 900 motivational stickers that I found. People always ask me like, where did you get those stickers? And I wish I had a better story that like I got them from my dying grandfather or something like that, but you know, I just bought them on Amazon. And then I started thinking about like, oh, I can make giant motivational stickers, you know, because I used to joke about my work like they were just kind of like glorified fridge magnets, you know, like, you know, I'm like the punk rock version of Live, Laugh, Love, you know, just with like some more bright colors and whatnot. But yeah, so everything is kind of led to something else, you know, and so I want to make more furniture, more art, more sort of like chandelier pieces. There's this Buddha head with, you know, 4 different emotions, and that's called Congratulations, You're Having a Human Experience. And so I want to make smaller ones, you know, about 10 inches that you can get for like $100, you know, or you can buy the original for, I don't know how much it is, you know, a couple grand. But yeah, so there's certain pieces in here. I'm a big fan of like interactive pieces. You know, I have one piece that's made of 108 smaller pieces. And the idea that is that you could buy just a small piece of the painting and everybody kind of has ownership, you know, in that painting. I've made other pieces with just an ink stamp of little smiley faces, and it, you know, turns out and it spells, you know, have fun or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like I've even started making clocks because I was painting these sort of like faux clocks on canvas and birch, and you know, I sold out of those, but I was like, why don't I just make real clocks out of these, you know, or even like digital, you know, digital faces. So it's like, I want to give more life to my work, because it's like, once people buy it, you know, it's like gone. And I'm like, I kind of want this to have more life in different forms, and I know it's selling. And so I just kind of want to lean into that and give people more of what they want. So in the future, I think you're going to see a lot more of these like wood cutout motivational sort of speaker type things. You're going to see more mirror art. You're going to see more sculptures, you know, things on found art. You know, there's a buoy, a vintage like light guard buoy, you know, round thing that I painted on that. So yeah, there's just a bug light, that I just thought was funny, to paint like shine bright on it, because I feel like when you're having like a spiritual awakening, like the universe just throws more stuff at you, and like so it's just kind of funny that it's attracting all these bugs, and to their death. So it's like, hey, cool. Yeah, I can paint on that. I can, make a concept out of it, and it feels fun. And I used to be offended by, I would do these critiques with curators, and they would be like, now here's one artist that doesn't take themselves too seriously. And this was like stuff I was doing with the gun show and the backpack. And I'm like, that's serious? Maybe it's like ironic and super ridiculous because it's a super ridiculous subject. But now I'm just leaning into that. Like, art can be fun and uplifting, and it doesn't have to be like mysterious or make you feel bad about the world, or remind you of your trauma. This is like, yeah, I don't know. We only get one life, and sometimes you just need a little lift,
I left home a while ago in search of fortune's gold. Didn't find much but violence on the road. Under many suns and moons I toiled. I heard the coyote moan. The sun fell, I kept riding slow. Hacia la noche. Hacia la noche. Hacia la noche. Hacia la noche. I rode across the Sierra Madre. I found a cantina there. Fortune teller promised me she could show me the way. But I got no time for tall tales, nor for the moon and stars. I need something that will keep me warm. Hacia la noche. Hacia la noche. Hacia la noche. Hacia la noche. North of the mountains where they want me to find my peace. North of the mountains that say I should believe, but legends don't keep a man warm at night, and legends don't keep the truth from the lie. Hacia la noche. Hacia la noche. Hacia la noche. Hacia la noche. things used to be so good. They're getting better still. It's a lie every cowboy tells. But I'm bound to an endless road, one that never leads home, with no rest and a million miles to go. Hacia la noche, hacia la noche, hacia la noche, hacia la noche. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Texas Hatters, Wella Foods, and Thunderbird Bars, along with our in-kind sponsors, Printing Solutions, Courthouse Nights, The Rock House Airbnb, Birdie House Airbnb, Gaslight Baker Theater, and Crystal Glaze Photography. 78644 is produced by Kate Collins, recorded at Troubadour Image and Sound here in Lockhart, and filmed in Lockhart, Texas. Edited by GHA Marketing, social media managed by GHA Marketing and Crystal Glaze. In-studio performance this episode by Kelly Dugan, Pearson Saxon, and Aaron Stein. A special thank you to the city of Lockhart, Texas, the Lockhart Rodeo, Ezekiel Rivera, Hazel Ann Trochet, Gideon Klingspor, Hudson Turner for their participation in our Mutton Bustin segment, along with Elliot Collins. Our show is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon, Radio Public, YouTube, and everywhere else where podcasts are streamed. I'm Stephen Collins, and you're listening to 78644.